start with your name and where you're from.
Okay, so my name is Raquel van Haver. I'm Colombian, but based in the Netherlands. So when I was I was very young when I got back to the Netherlands, and then I stayed there. And now I just go on and off to Colombia
Okay.
to visit.
All right. Any memories from Colombia?
Not like, cause I was very young. No, but just like a few, like the air and the smells and the food and the music, like just like some few, like of family, but not like really big ones. No. Then it comes more to the Netherlands because I started there as a child, grew up there.
All right. And as a kid, did you see certain things that influence your career that has led you to this path?
Oh yes, I think many. Like I was actually thinking about it last night, and my mother always she had like a very thick book,
Okay.
huge, and she was always telling me stories.
All right.
Because when I was a young child, I was every time somebody says, "Oh, you're gonna become an artist," I was like, "No, I'm a storyteller." I was like, "Where actually?" So I was thinking, where did I actually got that from? And then I actually reminded me that book, and she was like telling me every night when I was like a baby until I was small, like she was telling me these stories, like very small stories, sometimes poets, sometimes like just like random mythical stories. Like there was a lot in that book, and I was like, oh, I need to find that book again. But like I think that book shaped my visual everything.
Everything.
Yeah. And from that point on, like traveling a lot with them through Europe to see churches, or like in Italy to go to medieval cathedrals, or as well in the Netherlands, you have a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So I think I just was spoiled with visuals when I was a kid, and especially because like my imagination is just a little bit higher than the normal human beings. I saw things. I remember that I always was like having adventures with friends, and I probably we just didn't do anything, but it was like very intense all the time. So I had the space to grow up in a very quite a safe as a childhood,
Okay.
and then as well with like the stories and the travelings, I think that shaped my whole vision.
Vision.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And would you say the traveling also influence your view about the world and what art means in different perspectives from different places and all that?
Yes, I think so when for me like to have like Colombian roots based in the Netherlands, like that's always there.
Yeah.
So that's already something how I see the world from. Like if I look at my Dutch friends, they born in the Netherlands and they stayed in Europe, or they have like this very European vision.
Yeah.
And I don't have that. For me already my starting point is in Latin America.
Okay.
My starting point is about colonialism. How did Latin America become Latin America? How did like the Spain infiltrate? How did they kill a lot of indigenous? So my history is different than from them. So everywhere I go, like I like to always go back to that history of that's also part of me, to going to several spaces, for example, the Caribbean, and in Latin America, many other places as well, but it's also here on the continent, because everybody's dealing with that kind of history in a way. Uh, so it's always interesting to see how other people do or deal with this, because some people really don't bother, and others are like very on top of it. So like you get like these very interesting conversations, and I like to have a conversation most of the time. When I come in at zero, I don't have any vision, I don't have any opinion, I just don't believe in anything. um, so that's already like for me a very interesting thing, and I think as well that's also what I'm doing in my work. I always come to a place and try to investigate as much as I can about a certain topic, instead of just showing all my feelings or ideas about it. I just want to have it like it's an opportunity for the viewer to learn as well. So I need to be very calm and very abstract sometimes. when it comes to emotions.
Yes.
Because like I feel a lot, but sometimes I just have to be like, okay, sit back. It's for them, not for me.
Yeah.
So there are always hidden jokes or treasures in the painting, but that's only for the people who know.
No. Yeah.
So that's like there's so many layers. Just some information, visual information. Then it comes to history. Then it comes to this. It comes to this, and then for my own in crowd, there are many jokes. Or sometimes I paint friends of mine as well. In the painting, and they were not there, but it's just like a funny joke to put them there, and then they only see it, so when they come and visit, they're like, what what did you do?
So you kind of throw in shades, sarcastic stuff, and I know when we talk about let's say advancement in terms of mental advancement, I know usually from Africa we usually think that everything in Europe and America or Latin America is is easy. Even with regards to women's rights, we feel like yeah, she's from Europe, she's from America, so this like it's normal. But when you look at the history of women in Europe too, they had to battle certain
Yeah, and still.
obstacles, yeah, and all that. And we have women who had to fight their way, those in the trumpet, all that, football, in every aspect of life, women had to go. When you decided to say that I want to do art, did you have a challenge with your family, your parents, your friends?
Yes, of course. I think as an artist, like the women rights now in the Netherlands are okay. Like when I came to the Netherlands, because we talk in the Netherlands, like women rights are there. We have a problem with a very racial system. So we have quite a black and white system. So if you're white, you're fine most of the time. If you're colored, then it's not gonna treat you the way you wanted it to do. So the problem is in Europe is not about being female or male at the moment. Or I can just talk about the Netherlands. But it's about where do you come from? What is your last name? What is your zip code? Are your parents born in Holland or are your parents immigrants? So if you have to say yes on all of those, probably you won't make it to art school, because in that community they don't support art at all, because they are more fixed on surviving, how to get money, how to pay rent, and how to stay very low key. Because if you just put your head up, like they will come and cut it, because you just like it's too much. You're too much out there, and the weird thing in this is like Dutch are very out there, but if you're not like them, they will destroy you. So the system is different, but it has its flaws. Then, so for me, coming in as a Colombian female artist, that was strange, because like most artists still in the Netherlands, even if you look at art school, because there are many women, they're all gonna marry an artist or a doctor in the end. So in the end, the group of women is very small. Why? Because they're still expecting, there's like this expectation of women that they're gonna have many children and a family, and they're gonna support a man. Even if they're gonna have 5 jobs and they are very free, still the man comes first. So if you're an artist in Holland and you just do what I do, so I'm just like, no, I'm coming first and I'm gonna paint, and like very egocentric. The system or the community really doesn't like that. So they will try to constantly talk into you, like, no, you have to do this, you have to do this, and you can tell. And it's in general, you see all across the globe that, for example, women don't earn that much of money. So even if I can tell all my friends now, okay, the guys are a little bit older than me, but in the way how much they get paid and how much I get paid, they laugh at me. They're like, what the but the thing is, the system made that happen, because if I go to my galleries or if I go to the collect, they're like, no. And they don't tell me why, but I know exactly. It's as well with hiring. women. So if you have a female artist and the museum wants to do something with artists, they go most of the time they go to male artists because they know that it's more secure than going to female artists. So in a way, like I see these things happening, and I'm always very aware of that, and I'm trying to navigate in my own way, but it's very difficult sometimes. Very, yeah. So I'm trying now to just work by myself so I can be so independent that I don't need all of that. But it's difficult because not many do that.
It's like you're trying to create a new path. And we will be celebrating International Women's Day, and usually it's centered on listen, academia is centered on entrepreneurship, and it is centered on politics as well. Um, in the art scene, in the creative art area, they only bring, let's say, the movie stars, the musicians, to use their huge following to get the word out. But and they are not participating well, but it's quite better than visual artists like you. Uh, this 2021 Women's Day, would you what kind of message you want to put out there to organizations that are handling or leading this International Women's Day event?
There is I don't know if you know the Mama Cash.
Yes.
So I've been working with them for several years now, together with like the biggest modern art museum in the Netherlands when it comes to Women's Day.
Okay.
So what we do now is invite women globally to that museum to have like one day at least for talks, to just share, to just do a lot of things together. And then instead, just for one day, we try to make it a whole program for at least a week, and also like with the smaller programs a month, because we think it's very, very much needed. So last time we had a girl, let's see if I can find her, from Brazil. She was a female artist. We had some female groups as well, like we're getting lectures. So we really try to show that female artists still around the world are not very well represented, as well as their status is very harsh, especially in some countries where women's rights are really not there yet. So we will and want to support them all, because the thing is, you can tell the need that there is to have female artists there as role models. And I think we now need to focus on those role models, who can be role models, so we can actually try to get more young children, like young women, to those art schools and just become artists and just be independent and do, like, and then also change the communities and do something with communities so they can be role models again. So it grows and it grows and it grows.
Kind of a cycle of life.
So we're really looking at those kind of things, and next to Women's Day, they just work 24/7, like the whole year, on this subject. So it's very nice to, like, you can take a look at their website to see what they do. For me, meanwhile, like, I'm always trying to support wherever I can. If there's young students, or if I do have to give lectures or whatever, for young female artists, as well as that I have like, I have one guy working for me, but the rest are all young students in the Netherlands, because to have women of color still at art schools, that is not, everybody is very white. And you can tell as well by the way they actually teach. So if you talk about history, they give a very wide perspective on history, and when you talk about art, it's very European kind of thing. So it needs to change a lot. So like for me, my goal is to have like a couple of assistants. They can go back and also help their assistants out when they get older. But then we also will form a network of group of women artists, female artists in the Netherlands that actually know each other, can back themselves up when something weird happens with a curator or an artist. Like we are strong, we're a group, so we can inform each other, we can help each other out in these kind of things, because it's still not there yet.
And when you have traveled in Africa too as well, when it comes to seeing visual artists and young people and women, especially young girls, what have you observed so far?
There are a lot of male artists, a lot, a lot. I just met some few female artists or females that went to art school, and I'm very proud that they are there, because I have seen that they came from far. And most of the time the men were complaining and they were silent, and that's good, because like you can complain later when you're old, but they should be there, and they should be really, like, the guys really need to push them forward to show like this is what it is about, because I think they come with a strong, like the guys also come with a strong message, but they are coming with a very strong message. Not only the subject they talking about, but as well with their femalehood. So I hope that more girls will apply or will be open for art.
Okay, all right, all right. Since your visit, you've been in Ghana for quite
Mhm.
some time now. Um, it, have you seen something, the paintings, the drawings, exhibitions, and all that? Um, do you feel like the people, aside from we wanting government and institutions to support the arts
Mhm.
industry, do you think that the people are also receiving art? Are they seeing it as something that is worth doing
I
or worth
think
paying for?
visual art is difficult here.
Yeah.
Like, they do receive it when it comes to theater or play, and they do receive it when it comes to music. They do receive it when it comes to fashion. But the real awareness of what visual art is still difficult. And I think, like, people like Ibrahim, for example, are very much working on a new perspective. Like, this can be visual art, and this can be you, and you guys, like, you perfectly fit together. So I think for now, and because he's not the only one, like many people are, uh, in their own ways, trying to set up new spaces to open up to the viewer. Let's call them the viewer. And I think people are more and more open to it as well. People from abroad, you see, like Ghana, is now like honey to bees when it comes to visual artists. Like, you see them coming from everywhere, uh, just to collaborate here. So, and sometimes it takes something from outside to appreciate the things you have inside, right? So I think it's just a matter of maybe 1 or 2 years before people really understand how and what. Because they still think when it comes to art, it needs to be traditional art,
Yeah.
and it's not. But I think it changes over. It will change over the years.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
And I like you mentioned Ibrahim. We will speak a little about him because we are currently in his home.
Yes.
And first, let's start with your visit to. I believe you've gone to SCCA, you visited
Mhm.
SCCA, you've gone to the Nkrumah place,
Mhm.
and you've gone to Red Pill. You had a talk there. That was on Saturday.
Yes.
These three hotspots he has been able to map out in the region.
Mhm.
Um, let's first talk about your lecture. What was it you spoke about at Red Clay?
So at Red Clay, I did a small introduction of myself. The idea was to showcase a video after.
Yeah.
So I just had 30 minutes to talk, and then all of a sudden we found out that we couldn't show the video. So it was a little different than normal. But I just did a small introduction about who I am, where I came from, because I think that every time when I'm doing or having a talk here, the lack of information, if I don't give it where I'm coming from, because they think, oh, Europe and you're rich and you're fine. So I really have to give the talk about, now I'm coming from the South-East. It's like one of the worst neighborhoods, and this is the system where we're living in, and this is the system where I'm trying to get out of. But it's well connected with the rest of the world, because just 1% of people who are living there are Dutch. The rest is African, Latin American, Caribbean, and Asian. So we have a very multinational, like it's a very beautiful space. So by telling that and then showing them the images the connections from like the place I come from, because I always make paintings with an indirect or direct connection to home, and then also the subject I really interested in. So constantly drawing back from like the subject to the house, to this, to this. So it was a nice triangle. So I just showed a few works, and then I spoke about a big show I did in the Netherlands that was very changing for the whole art scene. Because after that, more younger artists and people from color were allowed to show after this show in the museum, and so forth. So in the end, I think I ended with one of my latest big researches and shows about Colombia. So I just went through like some timeline of shows and works and what that meant.
Okay, all right. And when you visited these places of in Tamale, did you have any future plans personally? Maybe perhaps your next big work will be in Ghana, and probably you'll be hosting it in Accra or in Tamale. Like, did you have any wild ideas?
And the purpose to come here was because me and Ibrahim already have been talking for quite a while to do something together. So this was not just a visit, this was just like the beginning of a research visit.
Okay.
So I don't know what I can say about that. We talk, and there's something. It's gonna be beautiful. I have probably 2023.
2020. So at least we have let's say 2 years. Okay. All right. Right. Any gist on what this whole big thing is about? So that we can have like say order for dessert and reach for the course itself.
Yeah, just follow Instagram, and then because at the moment we were very it's just like a baby. It's still an embryo. So I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything.
Okay.
But there's something. Yeah, we work on. Good morning. We work on something.
Okay.
And I hope if everything will work as it should be, it's gonna be beautiful.
Okay. All right. What have you observed so far about his work in his home and also abroad, and his personality? So let's start from his personality.
He's funny. He has humor. No, but it's really I don't think an artist should be so.
Uptight?
No, that's not the word, but sort of. No, but the thing is, you can tell like and this is his life project. Sounds also so awful, but it's the way he works. It's him. He's really doing him,
Okay.
and by meaning that the investigation, the building, everything becomes so powerful, and he really knows what he's doing.
Okay.
And he enjoys that. Even like he's very busy. Like I'm shocked how many Zoom calls this guy has per day and per night, and I don't know whatever in between. But he just takes them all, and he's very generous to people. Very, very, very insanely generous. Because he has a goal in life, and he just works towards it. He like he's like a straight line. Like if you're in his way, he just goes through you. He's powerful in that, and it's very beautiful and inspirational to see how he's doing that, because his idea to change the art scene, and not only here in Ghana but probably in like the whole world, he's gonna get there. He knows that.
Wow. And your observation about his map out sites here. Um, what do you think? What do you think?
They're very strategic, beautiful sites, and because they're still in progress, it's nice to just see them developing bit by bit and hearing the stories. And as well, because art never sits still, art is also moving. Like
Yeah.
that's why the spaces are as well an art form, because they're moving, they constantly developing in something new,
New, yeah.
and even not focusing on one particular part, but like as a living system going from space to space to space. It's insane that he can actually do something so big. Like if you go to museums, they just focus on one place and that's it. This is where it has to be, and he is very fluent in that. He can just go to that space and he takes over. He goes to that space and takes over, and that is actually, I think, the power of an artist, and especially his power.
And the final one, about his international perspective, and
Mhm.
probably link it to how you heard of him or where you met him, and what was going through your mind before you actually like maybe had a face-to-face conversation with him.
Mm, let's see when, because we've met many times as well in Amsterdam and in Venice. Mm, I think there was one time in Amsterdam, and he had a small artist talk, and like a tiny, like maybe the place was as big as this thing here,
Yeah.
but there were many people, and we had to pack them, and it was interesting to see because he was giving a small artist talk about his work. He had his sketchbooks, and everybody was just like, this was before COVID, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were all safe and we were all
Yeah.
healthy, but we were all packed. I think it was like last year winter,
Okay.
and um, and it was nice because he was showing all the photos about immense spaces, and we were in that small, tiny place, packed. But it was I was just looking at the work and I was listening, and of course I knew already from the conversation we had. But it was as well beautiful to see that an artist, he brought all his sketchbooks with him so people could look at it, and that is something a lot of people, including me, sometimes find very difficult to do because they're my babies. And also when I like all my ideas, I draw them up in there, and sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure. Uh, and he has a totally different way of sketching or working. Like mine thing, like even when you look at it, probably a normal person
Yeah.
can't read it because it's just it's a lot. And he is very systematic with like putting things together. So for me, that's when I was holding and going through the books, I was like, yeah, wow, like this, he really wants to share. Um, and that also, because we had many times before and after talks about doing something together,
Okay.
because we have like a both an interest in space, in taking over spaces, in old materials, in archiving. So there are many things that are actually connecting. Um, but I think that moment when we were together in that space, I was like, okay, like this, let's just do this. Mm.
All right. So, your final words. What do you think about Tamale? What have you? What has been your favorite? Either dish, music, anything about Tamale.
Mm, I think yeah, Tamale is beautiful. And yesterday we went all the way up north to Paga,
Okay.
and like that I need to go back to that space now. That is beautiful, my God. But I think for me, the hospitality of everybody here. Everybody's been so amazingly kind. Um, from like Accra to the small parties and just the art people and the scene to Kumasi to all the students that like we had some parties there,
Yeah.
and like just like small food and cooking together, and the talks we had to Tamale, and like people are so focused here on like building everything and getting the work done, and like I'm honored that I could spend some time here with everybody. I had some good talks because like everywhere you find people who are really wanna almost sacrifice their own life for art, um, because they have a purpose, and that's really cool.
Okay. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
this.